FM News Talk 97.1.
On-demand audio.
So we had our production meeting yesterday, and this long, because I don't read the paper. I don't purchase this. I don't read it. I don't read this particular paper. This doesn't, if Katie Couric were to ask me what makes my worldview, it's not the St. Louis Post-Distrash. So what I found comical is that normally, two things. First of all, if you're going to accuse someone of being something, you should at least have evidence, especially if you're going to do it under the editorial board byline of your newspaper. Secondly, if you're going to use computer lingo, you should make sure that you are using it accurately. I had a field day messing with St. Louis Post-Dispatch on Twitter because they called Missouri Speaker of the House, Tim Jones, a hacker. They called him a hacker, even in the headline over at STL Today. So I'm reading this and I'm thinking, boy, they must have something really good. They don't. They just said what I reported to you days ago is that someone discovered that the same password that was given to the Social Security agent that was dropped in an envelope and sent through USPS and all of that and brought back, that it was used to try to access, for some reason this is still existing, the concealed carry portal for the state of Missouri. So the St. Louis Post-Distrash decides to finally weigh in on the whole Nixon Department of Revenue concealed carry scandal by calling Missouri Speaker of the House a hacker, because apparently to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, using a password to access the thing for which the password was invented constitutes hacking, or at least so they wrote, using their dial-up AOL accounts. And I guess the offer this month is going to be, hey, sign up for St. Louis Post-Dispatch and you'll get a free disc for net zero. I don't know. I'm being mean, but joining me on the phone right now, because I find all of this absolutely absurd, Missouri Speaker of the House, Tim Jones. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Dana, it's great to be on with you again. And, you know, Dana, it is remarkable that as you call it, I call it the Post-Disgrace. I love your word for them, too.
I didn't know you had all these elite hacker skills.
Yes, exactly. It's just hilarious, you know. And actually, there's a few good, hardworking reporters at the Post-Dispatch that I deal with up here, and they actually write news stories. This is an editorial board writer, and I'm not going to say his name because
it's Tony Messenger. I will.
Well,
I will.
He would love no more than that to us glorify him and give him recognition.
I want everyone to be able to see how horrible this man writes as a lesson for future journos.
He is a small man. He's a very small man. He's ignorant of the law, and because there's no news here, Dana, do you know that there's been no news story on this? The AP reported my position on this back on Monday. There's been no news since then because there is no news. We now know who Governor Nixon has hired as his new communications department. It is Tony Messenger and the Post-Disgrace, because they are spewing the liberal talking points on this because there's no news. And the prey is trying to become the hunter because they don't like how much they've been hunted here, because they know that they are breaking the law every single day. Dana, they have not reversed their unlawful policy of scanning, storing, and distributing Missourians' private information to the federal government and to the world.
Right.
And that is the problem. Because they cannot defend themselves, what do? You resort to baseless, ignorant character assassination. You know, this man is really horrible, Dana, because if I wasn't a public figure, I'm a public figure, so under New York versus United States, you know, there's not a lot I can do.
Right.
But if I wasn't a public figure, I would be able to sue him for defamation, for libel, and I'd probably win. And the fact that he calls me these things that he knows aren't true and ignores the fact that, you know, I'm also a human being, and this is a term-limited world. When my 8 years are up, Dana, next year I'm going to go back to being a good lawyer at a good law firm here in St. Louis County, and I'm a father, and I have two little girls. The fact that my family has to be exposed to the trash that this man espouses every day, I just want to point out one last thing, Dan. 10 years ago, the Post-Dispatch had over 500,000 subscriptions every day. Almost 500,000. Dana, they're now down to below 150,000. And they're shrinking every day because it's trash, it's lies, it's page 6 gossip, it's liberal talking points, and it's untrue. The Department of Revenue is breaking the law every single day. Governor Nixon, when he has asked questions, I go on your radio station and others, and I talk to every other media reporter in the state. I've gone on every radio station, every newspaper wants to talk to me because I have something to say. Governor Nixon fumbles, bumbles, and doesn't know what to say when he's confronted with the unlawful activity.
Well, and that's just the thing. You know, the only thing that's ever appeared in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch about this has been that AP story. They just ran a wire story, and that's pretty much it. But this is they're trying to the allegation and the fact that they would come up with something like this to me seems bizarre. They're ignoring the fact that who knows, first of all, who has this password. Why they're not asking the question as to why this portal even exists, why the scanning continues. The only thing they fall back on is, well, you know, it is legal for them to collect this driver's license information. That's the only thing that they try to come out with. And they ignore the fact that Governor Nixon actually signed this law prohibiting full compliance with Real ID Act. He signed it into effect.
Dana, they have ignored the first two fundamental questions we've been asking about this when this was first discovered over 2 months ago. Let's start with the fact that the liberal editorial board writers are trying to play judge, jury, and executioner here, and they're failing miserably at all of them. I'd like to see their law degrees. I'd like to see their sheriff's badges. I'd like to see their authority from the people to investigate crimes. They have none of that. The lawful sheriffs in the state, the elected folks, the people who understand the laws, the people who enforce them, they know there's a problem going on here. Two problems. The federal government appears to be in full cooperation mode with Governor Nixon's administration in attempting to implement Real ID in our state, despite the fact we have a law on the books that Governor Nixon signed prohibiting that. Janet Napolitano sent a letter to Governor Nixon thanking him for all his efforts at compliance. Senator Schaefer found that letter. The second